Part of the challenge with this for me is the messaging coming out of these different camps. We've talked about that on the show plenty of times too, but there just seems to be like this fanaticism with regard to, this is who I am and this is what I do. And there's influencers out there, some that are making a lot of money and influencing a lot of people on this track, and they have a stake in the game, right? Like, again, going back to no pun intended. They have a stake in the game because there's money to be made there in terms of their being on podcasts and writing books and, getting paid.
Selling organ meat supplements.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I almost forgot about that guy. Yeah, it was all the meat. That's all it was. There was no tren or testosterone or Anavar or anything.
It was liver.
Involved. Yeah, or growth hormone. None of that. The Liver King is quite the dude. Is he still around?
I think so, but he's sort of like disgraced, so I don't think anybody listens to him anymore. Yeah. Interesting.
So anyway, some of the messaging coming out of there, I think, can be real confusing for people. And again, like, I think it's important that people experiment and try different things, but I think kind of the way it's being delivered to people is not so healthy and puts people they sets them up for failure.
Well, one of the positives we've talked about of getting more protein, especially things like beef, is that they are nutrient dense. So I think maybe it's good we kind of talk too about like they're nutrient dense, but is it containing everything that you need from that?
100%. So yeah, when we look at like what are considerations that you should be looking out for if you're adopting this type of an eating style, and that is obviously one of them. So yeah, let's talk about that.
The nutrient deficiency component is going to come up, and there are folks in the carnivore camp who will claim that you can get all of your essential nutrients via a carnivore diet. Like they claim that plants are actually not necessary and you can have a completely healthy diet, get all your vitamins, all of your minerals, everything you need from a carnivore diet. However, that is debatable. I don't want to call it a study. It was more like an analysis that I had sent you guys prior to us chatting today. It came out of Australia, and I believe some of the researchers were from New Zealand as well. But essentially, they constructed a series of four theoretical carnivore diets. Like if you were following a carnivore diet, this might be your typical day. And so they had four different diets that had some variations between them, with dairy, without dairy, a few different variations. And then they essentially ran this through some type of software to analyze, are you going to be getting all of the recommended daily allowances of all of your vitamins, of all of your minerals? And to cut to the chase, what they found was that, yes, you can actually get most of your essential nutrients from a carnivore diet or from strictly animal protein or animal sourced food. But there are some vitamins vitamins as well as minerals that are, it's questionable whether you're going to be getting enough. So, a couple of those that come to mind, thiamine, vitamin B1 was something that was deficient in all of the diets that they analyzed. Folate was deficient in a few of them. Magnesium was deficient in a few of them. Iron, zinc, calcium. So a few of these essential minerals and essential vitamins were deficient. You could potentially combat that maybe with a multivitamin. Maybe that would be a way that you could plug the gap there. So when it comes to the essential nutrient side of things, I think you might have an argument on the carnivore side of things. If you are maybe supplementing with a few of these B vitamins or minerals that you're not getting through the diet. My concern or my main consideration is the fiber component, and then your antioxidants and your phytonutrients, some of these things that are only found in plants. Mm-hmm. And then again, on the flip side, the carnivore argument is that there are what are called anti-nutrients and antigens and xenoestrogens and these types of negative compounds that are present in plants. So
and they've been demonized as a result.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll demonize things like oxalates that are in spinach is a very common one. However, I think that there's value in a lot of these antioxidants and phytonutrients that you're only going to get from fruits, from vegetables. And the fiber thing, that's interesting because this was actually something that I, when I was looking through, when I was doing some Googling, essentially, leading up, I was going to say, sifting through the research. I was Googling. There are I found this one woman, I don't even know what her name was. I just saw her on a clip that essentially fiber is not essential. And I think Sean Baker also argues that fiber is, you don't need fiber. The roles that fiber supposedly plays in our diet are not necessarily scientifically proven, which
we're not ruminant animals.
Yeah, like which again is very debatable as far as there seems to be quite a bit of research regarding the benefit of fiber in your diet.
Yeah.
But when it comes to fiber, where I see the main issue is in the soluble fiber, and how soluble fiber is going to feed beneficial bacteria in your gut, and in that way fosters a healthy gut environment, takes care of your colon. And the carnivore retort to that, I'm not exactly sold on that. So it's just to get into it, I suppose. It's short chain fatty acids. So like butyrate is a very common form of, it's a compound that bacteria in your colon feed on. So when you eat soluble fiber is only partially digested. It ferments in your intestines, and these colon cells and these bacteria feed on essentially this gel or this goo that the soluble fiber leaves in your intestines. And one of the energy sources is butyrate or these other forms of short chain fatty acids. Now, the interesting argument I heard was, okay, you don't need butyrate from dietary fiber because when you are in a carnivore diet, you are in ketosis, you are producing ketones such as BHB, beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is not exactly the same thing, but the argument that I heard was, no, that covers your butyrate needs. So not to get too sciencey into it, but that's my primary area of concern over the long term.
So I'm going to ask, like, it was a short stint, but how's your gut on that month of doing?
Yeah, it's a really good. I certainly wasn't pooping as much, right? That's for sure. The digestive tract seemed for me was actually moving a little faster, yet I wasn't getting rid of it.
Wasn't finishing the job.
There wasn't a lot there, right? Yeah. I wouldn't say I was constipated. There just wasn't a lot there. Is that good or that bad? I don't know. I'm not here to say that. I don't really know, but that was definitely something that I experienced during that time. It's an interesting question. And likely could be because the fiber, soluble and insoluble, wasn't in there. There's just, your body could be more efficient at utilizing exactly what you're putting in, which is the meat. It's being digested, absorbed, and utilized. And so there's just less waste there to put out. There's a few reasons why that is, but yeah, that was a thing. That was definitely a thing. You go back to the nutrient thing and can you get everything? There's a couple things to maybe ask and check in on here. One is you can make the same argument on the vegan side of things, right? Like that you can get all of your essential vitamins and minerals from a purely vegan diet, but there's some work you have to put in to do that. And then the argument is going to be, but what about the main arguments come in with like, what about your essential amino acids, right? And where are those coming from? Your creatine, like aside from what you may be supplementing, because that's going to be onboarded with your animal protein and things like that. So again, no matter what camp you're sitting in here, there's going to be an argument back and forth. The issue that I have is the same one you have, Steven, which is like, well, that's fine. You can have those arguments, but there are workarounds to those. And to your point, Ryan, with that carnivore adjacent statement, people are finding these, right? They're like, okay, well, I recognize I probably do need a little bit more. I do need a little sugar in here. I do need a little fiber in here. And where am I going to get that from? So they're going to things like fruit or honey or things like that. So I think people are finding workarounds, and I think that's a good thing, right? And they're still having the same successes and, from a performance, aesthetics, and longevity perspective.